You can want a bigger life and still feel yourself pulling back the moment it starts to become real. That's one of the most confusing parts of personal growth. You think the problem is discipline, or confidence, or consistency, or clarity. You tell yourself, I know what I need to do, so why am I not doing it? But sometimes the real question is deeper. What version of me would I have to become to actually live this? That's where many people get stuck. The post is ready, the offer is ready, the conversation is waiting, the next step has moved from theory to action. For weeks, maybe months, you've been saying you want to grow. Then growth arrives as a specific moment. Press publish, ask for more, say no, let yourself be seen. And suddenly, the future you wanted starts to feel like a threat to the person you've been. That's what this video is about. Why progress can feel uncomfortable right when you're getting closer. Why the old version of you can pull you back even when the new life is something you consciously want. And how to recognize the identity gap, the space between the life you're trying to create and the version of you your nervous system still recognizes as safe. Because until you see that gap, you may keep blaming yourself for procrastination, inconsistency, or self-sabotage when something deeper is happening. You're not only trying to take a new action, you're being asked to become someone that action belongs to. And that can stir up fear, grief, loyalty, doubt, and a quiet question underneath everything. Who do you think you are? That question doesn't always arrive as words. Sometimes it arrives as attention, delay, one more edit, one more credential, one more reason to wait. If this idea resonates, I've put together a free subconscious starter kit to help you begin understanding how deeper patterns shape the way you think, feel, and respond. You can find the link below. For now, let's look at why becoming someone new can feel so strangely heavy. There's a simple teaching story I like. A student asks his teacher, why does this path feel so heavy if I'm moving towards something better? The teacher says, because you're trying to walk into your new life while carrying the old one on your back. That's the identity gap. The weight isn't always the future. Sometimes the weight is the old self you're still carrying. The version of you who learned how to stay safe. The version who knew when to stay quiet. The version who learned how to avoid criticism, disappointment, rejection, conflict, or attention. The version who got through life by being useful, agreeable, impressive, invisible, responsible, prepared, careful. That old self may have helped you. It may have protected you. It may have helped you belong. So when people say, just become the new version of yourself, it can sound easy, but to the deeper part of you, becoming someone new can feel like leaving someone behind. And that someone is you, or at least the you who carried you this far. Picture someone sitting in front of a finished post, or a finished video, or a sales page, or an application, or a message they know they need to send. The thing is ready enough. Maybe not perfect, but ready enough. They've edited it, they've rewritten it, polished it, asked for feedback, made it better. At this point, the problem is no longer the post. The problem is what publishing it would mean. Because the moment they press publish, they're no longer just thinking about being visible, they're becoming visible. They're no longer privately preparing. They're publicly stepping into a role. And that role may collide with an older identity. I'm not someone who speaks like this. I'm not someone who people listen to. I'm not someone who gets to claim authority. I'm not someone who gets to be seen wanting more. So they wait. They call it clarity. They call it refinement. They call it timing. Sometimes those are real. Sometimes they're elegant disguises for a deeper fear. If I do this, I may have to become someone I'm not sure I'm allowed to be. That's what makes the identity gap so uncomfortable. It doesn't always feel like fear. Sometimes it feels like endless preparation. Sometimes it feels like humility. Sometimes it feels like being realistic. Sometimes it feels like needing one more credential, one more edit, one more sign. But underneath, there's often an old self asking, can we survive being seen this way? Identity isn't just a label. It's what feels like you, what feels believable, what feels normal, what feels safe in your body. Someone can say, I want to be more visible, and genuinely mean it. But if they've spent years identifying as the person who stays in the background, visibility may feel like exposure before it feels like opportunity. Someone can say, I want to earn more, But if their identity is built around struggle, receiving more may feel suspicious, undeserved, or strangely uncomfortable. This is why people can deeply want change and still resist the steps that would create it. The conscious mind says, "This is what I want." The old identity says, "This is not who we are." And when those two collide, the old identity often wins quietly, through hesitation, overthinking, and procrastination, through shrinking the goal until it fits the self-image, through staying loyal to the version of yourself you already know how to be. There's another part of growth we don't talk about enough. Sometimes becoming a new version of yourself comes with grief, even when the change is good, even when you want it, even when you know it's time. Becoming more visible may mean grieving the safety that hiding used to give you. Charging more may mean grieving the identity of being easy to approve of. Resting more may mean grieving the part of you that earned worth by being useful. Growth can feel like betrayal before it feels like freedom. Betrayal of who you used to be. Betrayal of the people who knew you in that role. Betrayal of the family system, workplace, culture, or old environment where that identity made sense. And this is where many people turn back. They think they're afraid of failure. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're afraid of becoming someone their old life doesn't know how to love. That's a different kind of fear. The future may be calling you forward while belonging pulls you backward. The old self has evidence. That's part of what makes it so convincing. It has memories. It has emotional proof. It has years of repetition. It knows how to survive familiar rooms. It knows how to avoid familiar pain. Even if those lessons are outdated, they may still feel emotionally true. Your nervous system tends to favor what it recognizes. Familiar doesn't always mean healthy. Familiar just means known. And known often feels safer than unknown, even when the unknown is better. Psychology has a useful term here: cognitive dissonance. It's the discomfort that happens when your beliefs, identity, and behavior don't match. When you begin acting in a way that conflicts with how you see yourself, tension rises. A person who sees themselves as someone who struggles may feel tension when life starts becoming easier. The system tries to resolve the mismatch. One way is to grow into the new identity. Another way is to retreat back into the old one. That's why change often feels exciting at first, then strangely threatening once it becomes real. The dream is beautiful from a distance. The identity shift begins at close range. A metaphor that helps here is the actor in the old role. Imagine an actor who has played the same character for years. Same costume, same lines, same posture, same emotional range. Then one day, they're handed a new script, a bigger role, a more visible role, a more powerful role. But when they walk onto the stage, their body still remembers the old part. The shoulders fold in, the voice gets smaller, the old lines come out automatically. The new script is in their hand, but the old role is still in their body. That's what identity can be like. You may have a new vision for your life, a new plan, a new decision, a new opportunity. But if the old role is still living in your body, you may keep performing the past without meaning to. At some point, becoming requires more than a new script. It requires stepping out of the old role, and that can feel awkward. At first, the new role may not feel natural. Your voice may shake, your body may resist, you may feel like a fraud. But awkward doesn't always mean wrong. Sometimes awkward is the sound of a new identity being rehearsed before it feels familiar. This is where identity connects to the larger inner blueprint. Your blueprint is the hidden collection of beliefs, rules, stories, identity statements, emotional associations, and expectations that shape what feels normal, possible, safe, and true. Identity is the part of the blueprint that says, this is who I am. This is what people like me do. This is what people like me don't do. This is what I can receive. This is how visible I'm allowed to be. This is how much ease I can trust. This is how far I can grow before I start feeling unsafe. When that part of the blueprint remains unchanged, even good strategies can feel hard to sustain. You're not only changing an action, you're challenging the self-image that action belongs to. Posting online may look like a marketing task. Inside, it may feel like becoming someone who can be seen. Raising your price may feel like a business decision. Inside, it may feel like becoming someone who can receive more without apologizing. Setting a boundary may look like a communication skill. Inside, it may feel like becoming someone who no longer earns love by abandoning themselves. The outside action can be small. The inner identity shift can be enormous. The answer is not to pretend. You don't need to force yourself to believe some grand identity statement that your system rejects. That often creates more pressure. A more honest starting point is to notice the gap. Where does the life you want require a version of you that still feels unfamiliar? Where does progress feel like exposure? Where does success feel disloyal? Where does ease feel suspicious? Where does being seen feel dangerous? These questions help you stop treating resistance as a character flaw. Resistance often carries information. It tells you where the old identity still feels responsible for your safety. The work is not to hate that old self. That old self may have done its job beautifully. The work is to stop giving it the final vote on the life it was never built to lead. That's a line worth sitting with. The old self may have helped you survive, but it may not be qualified to design your future. Identity doesn't usually change through one big declaration. It changes through evidence. Small moments where you act in a new way and survive it. Each time, the nervous system gathers new evidence. Maybe I can be this person. Maybe I don't have to keep performing the old role. This is how the new self becomes believable, through lived evidence, repeated enough times that the unfamiliar begins to feel possible. Then possible begins to feel natural. Then natural begins to feel like you. So this week, pay attention to the places where progress feels heavier than it should. Instead of asking only, why am I procrastinating? Or why am I resisting? Try asking, what part of me am I afraid I'll have to leave behind? That question can reveal a lot. Maybe you're afraid to leave behind the helper, the achiever, the invisible one, the low maintenance one, the version of you who never disappointed anyone, the version who stayed small enough to be accepted. Then ask, is this identity still protecting my life or quietly limiting it? You don't have to shame the old self to become someone new. You can thank it, understand it, honor what it carried, and still choose not to hand it the keys to your future. The old you may still be running your life, but once you can see that, the next chapter becomes more possible. If this helped you recognize that there may be more happening beneath the surface than you realized, I've put together a free subconscious starter kit to help you begin understanding how your deeper patterns shape your thoughts, emotions, and behavior. You can find the link below. And for now, carry this question with you. What old identity is it time to stop living from? Remember, breakthroughs begin within. Bye for now.